Hi everyone, I'm Claire, I'm an addict.
Hello Claire.
Oh, I've absorbed your anxiety all of a sudden.
Sorry.
Well done to everyone who picked up key rings, and it is miraculous. And I forgot that that's the format of this meeting, and which is mad because it was my home group for 5 years. I forgot you do that first, and I forgot the hat, the names in the cup thing. So it's really nice to be here. Thanks for asking. And I woke up on Saturday 12 years clean and sober, which absolutely blows my mind. I think a day blew my mind, to be honest. It took me so long to get one. I thank God for waking up on Saturday with that clean time and waking up today clean and sober, because there were many days where I shouldn't have, and there were many days I wish I didn't. Yes, I feel so grateful to have found a way out and to have been shown this way. And I absolutely did not believe that this was the way out. I certainly didn't want to come here. I did anything to avoid coming here. I felt like I was too far gone for this to work. It felt all a bit too fluffy and a bit too mystical and hippified and stuff. And I remember when I first went to a meeting in my early 20s, and I thought, this is a cult, they're gonna brainwash me. I remember them holding hands at the end and chanting or whatever they were doing, and I thought, no, not for me at all. And I think I'd been wanting some help, but not this sort of help, anything but this sort of help really. So for me that looked like doctors, prescriptions, scripts, methadone scripts, Subutex scripts, counselling, therapy, treatments, detoxes. So it does definitely feel miraculous. And I ended up here by accident because I did anything to avoid coming back here when I knew what was going on here. And I think looking back, it was like the stars aligned and sort of God reached in and got me, rather than I reached out for, a higher power for sure, because I'd been in treatment several times, and I don't do very well in there, to be honest. I turn into like a princess, like I want to go somewhere where they've got a swimming pool. I don't know who I think I am, because I've just been banging up water out of the cistern of a toilet and stuff, but suddenly decide I need to go somewhere where there's a swimming pool and a leisure centre and no 12 steps for sure. Something therapeutic is what I was looking for. But I start withdrawing, and that is where my problem starts really, and I don't do well with that. I'm a proper baby with it. So as soon as I start sneezing and sweating, I want to leave or I want to use, and I've done both in treatment. I had a year's funding at one point and I lasted 21 days. I didn't even get through the detox. But what I'm getting at is I really wanted some help, but I couldn't actually access it. And I didn't understand why I couldn't just stop, and that when I did stop, I couldn't stay stopped. I just did not get that bit at all. It was only here that I really learnt that, when I eventually did get back here, that, I've got a mind that takes me back to the idea that heroin or crack is a good idea, or even if I know that it's not a good idea, I can't stop myself anyway. And then a body that keeps me there once I've started, and that cycle repeated and repeated and repeated. Previous to that, I'd been, I had a really good start in life. I didn't understand why I did what I did. I thought that people that did what we do must have had something terrible happen to them, or there must be a really good reason to hang your hat on, and I didn't have it. I'd been in meetings, I'd been in treatments, and people were talking about their stories, some really traumatic stuff, and I just hadn't had that happen. You know, I had a really lovely start. That stuff happened in recovery, actually. I had a really good start in life, a really loving family, loads of opportunities. But I also learned it was all right here to say I'm really sensitive and emotional. You know, and it was all, you know, it's all right to say that and all right to be that. And I embraced that today. I certainly didn't when I couldn't stop crying for a year. But yeah, all that was different about me as far as I could see it was, and what I perceived it to be, was an anxiety disorder that was not treatable and a depression that was not treatable. And that I had a special and different type of anxiety and depression that they couldn't quite work out. And I haven't. I did have those symptoms, I did have those things, but I think, you know, drugs were just a really good solution to that. You know, I found ease and comfort in substances, and, you know, right back at the beginning it was hash and alcohol. And what I thought about alcohol was that, you know, I would drink too much too quickly and end up in hospital, or, you know, with vomit all down me, collapse somewhere and stuff like that. So I just thought it didn't really suit me. So I just found different substances that suited me a bit better as I saw it. So I partied for a bit and had a good time for a bit. But pretty quickly it wasn't a party anymore, and I was an intravenous heroin user, wondering how on earth that happened. And it really doesn't matter what the substance, it's just my story. But then I thought, you know, that it was the substance. I was physically addicted and I had to have it. But you know, I've come to understand that this illness is much more than you know, physical dependence. It's not that at all. This is body, mind and spirit. So, like I said, I ended up sort of doing the rounds of institutions and not really getting anywhere with it. I had a short period of clean time when I was about 23. I went to this treatment centre, and as I was driven up the drive by my parents, I'd just taken a handful of diazepam, and it was the first one I'd been in, and as they drove me up the drive, there was a guy cleaning the windows with no top on. He'd just come out of prison. And I thought, I think he'll be all right here. I think I'll be all right at this one. And I already had a boyfriend, you know, like, I don't know what I was thinking really, but anyway, so that became my treatment, you know, like the whole, I understand now, you know, that sort of drugs and stuff removed, I'll look to anything to change how I feel. And that was him. So I did have this period of clean time, and we got thrown out, but we stayed clean for a bit, and it was just about, you know, getting a job, getting a new place to live. Lived in a hostel in East London for a bit, and then you know, I think so Christmas came and decided to have a Christmas drink, because everyone has a Christmas drink, don't they? And then it was like, let's have a session, just have a session on the white. And one bag of gear each to come down, and then we'll have Christmas dinner with the family tomorrow. And
Good plan.
it was a good plan, but it didn't come off very well. It was a terrible plan. And then, you know, I really thought we were going to have a session on the white and have one bag of gear each, and that was it. And that's not what happened. That kicked off into a 7-year relapse without a day off, and in that 7 years I, you know, done 4 more treatments. He went to prison for more than half of that in bits, and then a lump at the end. And I think that was part of, you know, the story, and, you know, the stars aligning, because ultimately we were just a sort of crime wave, stealing cars, prolific shoplifting, ferocious drug using, and I caused myself a lot of harm, other people a lot of harm, my family, you know, absolute torment, you know, and I just had rock bottom after rock bottom after rock bottom, and eventually, you know, the stars aligned and we ended up co-defendants, he went to prison for 3 years, and I had my prison sentence was suspended, and I was given a drug treatment order. And at the time, I felt like I'd got a touch. And looking back, I don't think I did. I think he did. But the treatment was made compulsory. The residential part was compulsory, and if I left, I was going to prison, which would never really be enough. It had never been enough previously. I'd been on drug treatment orders before, but something just snapped inside me, and I kind of got put in a 12-step treatment centre where I didn't have any choice about it. And H&I came in, and I remember for at least 3 months I just kept going, I can't do this, I can't do this, oh, I can't do this, laying in the corner crying and going to meetings and laying on the floor. You know, I remember they'd take us to AA meetings. I'm not an alcoholic, I don't know why I'm here. You know, very dramatic, or just silent, like crippled with anxiety, and you know, I can't really breathe. But I think about 3 months in, this lady come in and told a story that was similar to mine. You know, she said some stuff that I really related to. Her story resonated with me. She laughed a lot, she was happy, she sounded like she had a great life, and you know, like, your perception's quite skewed, isn't it? I thought she was 8 years clean, she was 13 months, but it didn't matter. She carried this message to me, and she's done a phenomenal job of it. And you know, I was kind of hooked in, and I know Al talks about spiritual trickery. I definitely think there was some of that going on. And my journey wasn't straightforward. I did relapse again and need another treatment after this message was carried to me. It hasn't been that I just got it, done it and stayed. I messed about with it and kind of done that thing of showing up to meetings, getting a commitment, having a sponsor, doing the step work, you know, turning up with my written work and stuff like that. But really failing to sort of acknowledge and internalise the principles of the steps, and you know, that surrender and honesty just really wasn't fully there. And a day came, you know, I was obviously blocked enough from whatever power I was trying to access to find myself asking for 6 and 1, you know, in a position where I'm asking for 6 and 1, thinking heroin's a problem, I'll just have 1 again. And I was off again. It was really short, you know, it wasn't a 7-year one like before, but I think, so I got put back in another treatment centre, and something just happened in there. And I think what happened is I begged for a day clean and sober. I begged for the hour clean and sober. I didn't believe I could get through a day. I've had a bit of hope. I'd come here hopeless, I'd got a bit of hope, and then I'd lost it again. But I think surrender is shown in actions, and I didn't dare say that I believed it to be possible for me to be clean and sober for a number of years. And I remember some stuff happening quite early in recovery, like my brother got ill, you know, his cancer returned, and I didn't believe that I would be able to get through something like that, clean and sober. But I did. I was able to turn up, and you know, the steps had taught me, you know, I'd gone through the steps and, you know, been shown these tools and the principles of the steps, and I knew it was time to step up and stop making everything about me, you know, and turn up and be a sister and turn up and be a daughter, you know, be present and connected with my family who I had, you know, abandoned. No one ever turned their back on me. I walked away. So I think those tough bits helped me grow faith, and I think that's been the story of my recovery in many ways. You know, the good, the bad, the indifferent has all been blessings and lessons. And you know, I've been shown and taught and have experienced time after time that recovery is about throwing your cards in the air and letting them land. And I suppose that's a bit like the whole idea of step 3, isn't it? Is that I can show up and put in the action, but I have to get out of the way of the results, because I genuinely don't know what the best plan for me is sometimes. You know, I've had loads of experiences of, just having to go, I don't know, or help me, or show me, enough, stop, whatever it might be. I had this journey through the steps, and I had, I won't do a step-along because I haven't got time, and it's really boring to hear someone else's of it, but I managed to, get through steps 1, 2 and 3, in actions really, and identification with my sponsor at the time, do an inventory. And the truth is, I have told multiple different people all of my stuff, the way I see it, not necessarily the truth, but the way I see it over the course of the years that, I've been trying to get better, counsellors, therapists, drug workers, social workers. But I've never really told anyone all of it, and I've never ever looked for my part in it. Never ever thought I had a part in it. I just thought a lot of bad stuff happened. So that was a bit of a revelation that I had a part in stuff, or that I had any character defects. I didn't know there was anything to do with character refinement here at all. But I learnt a lot through that. Inventory process in 6 and 7 was transformational. And I also learned, I'd done the 8 and 9, process, and, that was amazing. But what I also learned through that, and have continued to learn through that, is that if I want to feel forgiveness and be forgiven, I need to be able to be that too. And so in recovery, some wonderful things have happened. Like at the end of my using, I'd run someone over. I'd lost my licence, rightly so. My passport had been seized. I wasn't allowed to leave the county. My partner and I weren't allowed to be in the same county. Well, he was in prison, but even when he was released, we still weren't allowed to be in the same county. And lots of good stuff started happening. I got some voluntary work, a job. My partner came down here. We both embraced recovery. We ended up, I got my driving licence back. I started travelling a bit and doing some wonderful stuff and getting really involved with this fellowship, which I have from the beginning. We got married, and have had some amazing experiences, really, truly amazing experiences. I have also experienced, quite sudden and life-changing loss. And, I know everyone experiences losses. Of course we do. That's life. What I found particularly difficult about the breakdown of my marriage was that I felt a real justifiable anger. And that's really tricky to manage when you're hurting so badly. My heart got really badly broken. However, it was one of those experiences that I can now look back on with some clarity and know that God's plan for me wasn't what I thought it was. And it was one of those cards up in the air, let them land, just keep going. And I fought for my life again, clean and sober. And I think some of the stuff that I learned within that as well, it was about forgiveness and acceptance and cultivating that. Like, you don't just get given that. You don't just get given the assets of this programme. You have to graft for them sometimes, a lot of the time. But I do know some real basic stuff that, is bread and butter. So it was leaning into a loving God. It was letting a few people in until I was able to, be more open, which took some time. But it was, the power of this higher power and the power of this fellowship and my people close to me, which has always got me through the tough bits, and also what has, been the joyous, free, peaceful, happy bits that I get to celebrate with you guys too. And I thank God for all of it. You know, it makes me who I am. It's made me stronger than I've ever felt. You know, that I can't express in words how this programme has changed my life. Not changed my life, but actually saved my life, made it worth living, made it purposeful and useful, and that all the experiences I've had have not been for nothing. And I continue to do this, the Unity service recovery. All three sides of it. It's a triangle. It's got to be equal. I've kept going through journeys through the steps and doing other recovery stuff, tradition stuff, concept stuff, convention stuff, PI stuff, service, sponsoring people, being sponsored, being teachable. It's a mad thing. I'd finish on this. I spoke to someone tonight who's many more years cleaner than me, who was saying, can you just give me some guidance about this? And we had a chat about that. And my sponsor has got less time than me. It doesn't matter. We are brothers and sisters. There's so much love and wisdom here, and I feel truly blessed to be part of it, and that eventually my ears and eyes were open to receiving this. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for letting me share.
Oh, thanks, Claire.